So, just to start off with a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in the Yorkshire Festival of Story this year.
It's a great question. Well, I have been part of the Yorkshire Festival of Story since lockdown was still a thing. Um, and it's been an absolute joy and pleasure to be part of it. It's been one of the highlights of my year every year, to be part of the festival. So I think that's probably exactly why I'm back. It's such a pleasure to be part of such a wonderful community of people who are so responsive and appreciative, um, and just really want to have a good time and get lost in a story. And I think that's one of the most encouraging and wonderful things that you can possibly see. Certainly as a storyteller, obviously that's exactly what we want to see. But it's just nice to feel that sort of sense of connection and a shared moment between a whole bunch of people all around the world, which is just beautiful.
Oh, lovely. No, I love that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's the thing about Yorkshire Festival Story. But this is only my second year, and I agree with the connectivity and across storytellers and people that love a story. Okay, so is there a storyteller you saw when you were growing up that was an inspiration for you? And if so, who are they and why did they stand out?
Yeah, so I always end up saying this, but that's only because it's still true. Um, when I was a kid, my dad used to read stories to us. Especially if we were on holiday, there'd always be a book that he was reading through, and he did all the voices, right? And you knew when you were a kid and you were talking about whether or not your parents read to you that they do all the voices was like the highest praise that you could get, you know. Ah, they're really good. They do all the voices. Um, and so my dad was a huge inspiration to me. And then a while back, must have been 5 or 6 years ago, me, professional storyteller, trained actor, thought, okay, I'm going to be quite good at this. And my nieces, my sister's kids, wanted a story read to them that evening. And so me and my dad were going to take it in turns to read a chapter each from The Hobbit. And I thought, I've got this nailed now. Seriously, I'm so excited. I've got this nailed now. Honestly, I'm gonna wipe the floor with him, and I'm convinced he's still better than me. I'm convinced he's still better than me. Yeah, he does all the voices. Um, Other than that, my primary school head teacher, a guy called Mr. Holland, Norman Holland, who's sadly no longer with us, but he lives in my memory because in assemblies he was brilliant at bringing out stories and making them relevant really quickly. And looking back, they were kind of the old faithfuls and the classics. They were Aesop's fables and things like that that are really easy to perhaps make relevant. But it was the first time that I remembered someone telling a story in a really engaging way that held the whole group and then making it relevant and helping us see how that could be better for us and maybe make our lives a little bit better and the way we talk to each other a little bit better. So yeah, two examples there that really stuck with me
Oh, I
into my
love how
very
that.
nearly 40s.
Oh, I love how it was your dad, though. That just makes me go, oh, it's so warming. You're picking up on the point of Aesop's fables
Mm,
and them being relevant because they're old, aren't they? I mean, they are
sure,
old
sure.
stories. What about those tales do you think makes them relevant even today?
That's a cracking question. Yeah, I think hmm, I was about to say something really pretentious and say the human condition never ages. Um, but I think to some degree it's true, right? So yes, Aesop's stories are old, and he was writing in a time that's totally different to ours, or he was telling in a time that was totally different to ours. That doesn't mean that people don't go through the same problems, and that doesn't mean that people don't experience the same difficulties. And the real genius of it was that quite often he was like, okay, we'll make it not about people. It's about animals, or it's about, this abstract concept or whatever, which only makes it more relevant because everyone goes, oh, well, he's not preaching to me because, it's about animals. Uh, and somehow it just still sticks with you. Like I say, the things we go through are pretty universal, and really still stick with you. So I think that's how they've stood the test of time.
Yeah, no, I love that answer. And I'm trying not to laugh out loud because I know that Zoom will flick to me laughing, and I don't want me cackling in the background. So I'm trying not to laugh out loud there. No, I love that, and I think you're absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right. And especially if we're not being spoken at, we can then take the message better, can't we? If we're being spoken at, we're not listening. But oh yeah,
Yeah, I think when people feel like they're being taught a lesson, then their natural instinct is to kind of switch off a bit. But if people think they're just being told a story,
mm,
the lesson kind of seeps in and you can take it or not. But that's the power of them, really.
yeah, absolutely. It's like our inner teenager comes out if we think we're being taught a lesson.
Oh, goodness, my inner teenager is still very much alive and kicking.
Same, to be fair, same. Can you give readers a hint as to what I expect from your 10 episode book at bedtime production, Tales from the Old Forest, this year at YFOS?
Oh yeah, I mean there's a lot. We're in a magical ancient forest that's connected to all parts of the world. There's mystical beings, there's talking animals, there's a young boy learning huge amounts about family, about acceptance, about kindness. It's it's been a really fun challenge. It's been a really fun challenge to write this. It's something totally different from anything I've written before. Um, and totally different from anything I've told before because it's all new and unique. It's completely original. It's not an adaptation of a pre-existing story. And it's been really fun to explore a brand new world, and I'm very much not ready to leave it yet. I want to spend more time there, and I hope that audiences will too.
Can we see it in a book then going forward? Will it be written down, do you think?
I wouldn't like to necessarily say, but maybe. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'd love to see something like that in the future. I guess we'll see what the audiences think. I think if they respond to it really well, then who knows what more adventures we might find from the old forest.
Oh, that's exciting. So, will it be a short story each night set in the same world, or is it a one story that's going to be snippets like episodes each evening?
So sort of both. So it's one story which will spread over all 10 episodes and will follow Plenton and his grandma and the friends he meets and makes along the way. But each episode will have its own sort of mini story within a story, and each part of it will be um self-contained and able to pick up and play.
Brilliant. Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait. I love a story in a podcast. Okay, so you are coming to, so every evening we're doing the podcast, but you're also holding a workshop for us in the middle of the festival. So I'm going to talk about that for a second and ask you a question. Your workshop's adapting the classics. So let me ask you, what's the workshop about? And then I'll ask you that next question. So
Okay, yeah. So the workshop is about adapting the classics. It's about taking some of those bigger, older, meatier stories that some storytellers may find a little bit daunting, may find quite big, and just giving some tools, some tips, some techniques on how people can break them down, how they can access the story for themselves, and how they can make it something that is relevant to them, that they want to tell, that matters to them, and that they think will resonate with other people.
why do you think that some classics may feel too big or daunting to adapt? And how does your workshop help to break down that barrier?
Cool, great question. So I think because classics get this title, the classics, capital T, capital C, people think of them as something that's like static and solid and slightly scary. And that, academics spend years investigating these stories. People write books about it, people write papers about it, people, adapt it into films. So little old me or little old you might find it a little bit scary to jump in on that. And some people might also feel that they want to tell the story, but they've not got anything new to bring, or they don't know how it will work for them. So I think it's really natural to find it daunting to pick up some of the bigger, older stories. I personally took a number of years before I picked up anything from the Arthurian cycle because I was a bit daunted by it. I didn't know what I could bring that was new. I didn't know what I could bring that was relevant. And I didn't really have like a something to say about it. And I didn't want to just be parroting what other people had done better than me. Um, so it took a while for me to learn how to unlock the story for me and find something that I thought would be interesting to people, and that I hadn't seen done before. Um, and so the workshop really is a lot of the learnings that I've found along the way, um, and a lot of the mistakes I made, and a couple of things that work quite well, and that hopefully will work well for other people as well. There's some tools and tips and techniques that I have found useful, in helping to unlock a world that can seem a bit distant and bring it right to you. And then hopefully from you, push it out to your audience and let them share it with you.
Sounds exciting. I'm looking forward to that. What what is it in the classics that draws you to using them as inspiration for storytelling?
It's another good question. These are great questions. I think the classics again, capital T, capital C. Um, it's a bit like as we were talking about with Aesop. They're stories that have stood the test of time because at their core, they're about people going through difficult things, or people facing a challenge and finding a way as best they can in their flawed, stupid human way to overcome that challenge. Um, and sometimes the challenges are totally alien to us. And sometimes the challenges are absolutely the same thing that you're going through right now. Stories about grief are universal. Stories about hope are universal. Stories about distance and loss and difficulty, universal. We'll all go through that at some point in our life. And so it doesn't matter whether it was 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, or 5 minutes ago, we'll still find those stories relevant. And I think there's something beautiful in knowing that over thousands of years, audiences have all connected to the same people or characters because there's something in them that they see in themselves. And I
Mm,
think that's the power of storytelling, really, that you can see yourself somewhere within that story.
yeah, no, I agree. That's great. Thank you. So, what do you hope the Yorkshire Festival of Story audience members and workshop participants take away from your workshop and from your storytelling event with us?
I hope that they take away, firstly, a little bit of a sense of fun. I think, first and foremost, storytelling should be fun, right? And enjoying a story with someone telling it to you should be fun as well. And I think that, yeah, if nothing else, I'd like people to come away going, that was fun. Um, Hopefully, they will also feel that there's something that's useful to them, that there's maybe a little bit applicable to their life in some way, be that from the stories I tell or from the workshop that I lead, either one. And I think it would be really great if, like I say, that they can see themselves somewhere in the story that's being told. If it's, see themselves in a magical creature who really, really enjoys eating nuts and berries, or see themselves in a young boy who's trying to find his place in a world that's a little bit difficult and tricky, or in a wily old grandma who's perhaps a little bit more magical than she appears. All of these things, there's a place for us all within that story, I think.
Oh, I love that answer. Yeah, you're right. I love it. Okay, last one. Is there an audience response to your previous performances or workshops that has stuck with you? If there is, can you share it?
It's probably quite a few, so I could go on for a while. So I have found that the Yorkshire Festival Story audiences have been so encouraging, and I came to the first YFOS relatively early in my career as a storyteller, really, and the encouragement I got there sort of inspired me to go further, to go bigger, to stretch myself and push myself into new stages of my career. So it has been incredibly encouraging and supportive. I've found audiences who have asked, um, "Will there be another book at bedtime?" for the last couple of years has been so heartwarming because it is a lot of work to put these together. I end up writing a story, recording it, editing it. It's hours and hours. I'm in this little room here thinking things and speaking things and then listening back to my own voice and thinking, oh goodness, that's not what I sound like, is it? Um, so it's a lot of work. And then to hear someone say, Oh, that'll be happening again, though, right? We'll get another one of those. It's just the most lovely feeling, and yeah, the audiences have been absolutely fantastic and so encouraging and warm.
Oh no, I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased because yeah, I've looked at all the analytics for all the past podcasts and they are really popular. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I enjoyed last year's as well.